Got traffic there. Blaster, just take it up to the departure end of the runway, then a left turn and a lowest downwind. Cessna over the threshold, coming up on the white dot, at or beyond the white dot, left turn first available. I got a high wind coming up on about a half-mile final, clear to land at or beyond. Traffic on the left face, you're following a Cessna down, low off your left. Square it up just a little bit, and then we're going to get you in. Start your descent, though. Start your descent on the base. Traffic on final, give me follow on base. Base traffic, start turning toward the numbers now. High wing coming up on quarter-mile final, take it all the way down to the green. Cessna taxiing on the green, expedite down to the next hard surface. Get me some speed, there you go, 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 go fast. This is going to be good. I got traffic on a mile final. You're following traffic ahead and to your right. High wing coming up on the threshold. Take it all the way down to the green dot.
5 Charlie Sierra, 2 mile final.
A mile final, turn north, and we're going to just make you, we're going to bring you back around. Jet traffic's coming up on about a mile and a half final. Runway 9 clear to land.
Okay, all right, let's listen up, guys. If you're on final for runway 9, I want you to offset to the left. I got a jet that's landing on runway 9. The jet's cleared to land runway 9 if you can make it. If not, just continue straight ahead. It looks like you're going around for the jet. That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
Oh, we had one right in front of us, sir.
Dragger, let's see, what we got, a tricycle, put it down, tricycle, put it down, tail dragger, down to the green dot, then a left turn. Short final here, you quick land on 9, all the way to the white dot, go down to the white dot. Find somebody to follow out here. Canard, just come to the runway and I might have to just send you around. That'll be fine. And for the jet, you just want to stay in this pattern or you want to go back out for an instrument approach?
Stay in a pattern, Charlie Sierra.
All right, just stay with me here for a minute. And my tail dragger, let's see, over the numbers, go down to the green. And Canard's going to have to go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. Canard, go around. And my high wing here over the runway, keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. Do not descend. Do not descend. You got a fast guy behind you. Do not descend. There you go. Keep it airborne. Keep it airborne. As soon as the guy behind you gets slowed down, I'm going to put you down. So keep it airborne. The one that just passed the white dot, make a left turn on the hard surface. All right, my high wing tail dragger, you can put it down now. You can put it down now. And Charlie Sierra, let me get you about a mile off. Let's see, Charlie Sierra, I lost. There you are. Make a left-hand turn. I'll try to resequence you here on the downwinds. We'll see how it looks. Short final, you're clear to land runway 9 on the white dot. Clear to land on the white dot. There you go. And the tricycle left on the hard surface and follow the flagman. Welcome. Thanks for being part of the show. And let's see, just find somebody to follow out follow on the final. And as you get close to the runway, if it's not going to work, we're going to send you around and then try to resequence you. Now, who else got sent around that's not back on the downwind? The Canard?
Yeah, Canard.
All right, Canard, there's a Gulfstream up there that went around too. I just lost sight of him, but you're going to make kind of a left-hand turn and stay low. I think Charlie Sierra, what's your altitude?
3,200.
Okay, that'll be fine. Just maintain VFR. I don't know what else is up there above you. Probably most everybody's down here, so just make a left-hand turn. We'll try to get you back here.
Canard's got the jet in sight.
Okay, the RB, maybe an RB-10, whatever, you're on final. Keep your speed up and go all the way down to the, aim for the green dot for me. Actually, keep your speed up. There's a guy behind you. Aim for the green dot, and I'm sure that's plenty of room for you to land on runway 9. You're clear to land on runway 9. Number 2, you're going to go down to the white dot. Follow the white dot. Actually, you know what? That's 1,500 feet. You're going to land at the white dot. The spacing looks adequate here. 2 guys on final. You're kind of tight there. Keep each other in sight, and you're going to aim for the white dot. If it's not going to work, we'll come up with a plan B. We might have to send you around. The second guy behind you out there in about a 2-mile final. Are you slow enough to be able to follow that guy in front of you? You need to go around.
Yeah, follow.
Well, I probably shouldn't ask that because I had about 5 guys answer me, so I should know better than that. After 35 years, you would think, right? All right, so let me see. The guy who's number 1, it's number 1. What kind of airplane is he? An RV type. All right, RV type. Keep it airborne for me. Keep it airborne. And I got a fast guy behind you. The number 2 guy over the trees there. Go ahead and put it down on the numbers. Put it down on the numbers. My first guy just coming up on the numbers at the over the grass at the numbers. I want you to keep it.
T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year, I guess. Welcome to the live stream in 2020-5. How is that possible? Anyway, we're starting off the year with a cracker of a show. Our guest is Vicky Auld, Deputy Chief Pilot for the British Antarctic Survey. Vicky spoke to Ed a few days ago from she was at the Rotherham Ice Shelf.
That's it.
And I have to say, although it's been positively bloody cold here, it's probably a bit colder in Antarctica, but maybe not. Who knows? In the news, we've got some inevitable EVTOL stories. Spoiler alert, they're all going bust. The CA have mandated carbon monoxide monitors, and then they ran away. But when I say run away, I meant they're going on strike, sort of going on strike. The LAA, Simon Tilling, has got a brand new job, but it's an additional job. It's not instead of heading up the LAA. I should make that clear.
Right.
And the Chinese have certified their first electric aircraft, and more. But more excitingly, we got some great news with the winners of the 2024 Flyer Challenge and information about the 2025 Flyer Challenge. Right. What else do I need to do? I need to say a huge thank you to Sky Demon in 2025 for supporting the live stream. Thank you very much, Sky Demon. I've got the wrong little tab here, so let me just get that up. There, hang on a second. All the bloody names have changed again. And anyway, here is your top tip for this week's Sky Demon. Or here is this week's Sky Demon top tip. You see, production standards haven't improved that much.
They haven't slipped.
Hi, I'm Hannah from Sky Demon, and this is this week's top tip.
When you're getting close to your planned destination, the Make Approach button will appear in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Tap on it to see a list of all available runways with their length and surface type. Select the runway you're going to use, then choose the circuit direction and the join type. In this example, Sky Demon already knows that runway 13 is a right-hand circuit as it's highlighted in green. We'll choose a standard overhead join. The circuits for the other runways are now hidden, and we can clearly see the circuit we need without the extra clutter, and we get a handy arrow for guidance on where to join. You can also bring up these approach options by tapping on the extended runway centre lines on the map.
For more information, go to our website, skydemon.aero.
Right. I hear you're wondering where the bloody hell's the weather. Well, Simon's not with us live tonight. We got a recording from Simon, but we'll be playing that right at the end, just like they do on the news, because we feel like we're gonna grow up and stuff like that. So before we hit the news,
Speak for yourself.
I figure I'm kind of grown up already. I'm going to be the sensible person here. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I was going to say, don't forget, if you enjoy our content, please do us a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really will help us out. Better still, subscribe to the Flyer Club. But if you can't afford the £3 a month or the £5 a month for that, then subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. And hit like lots and comment, particularly if you're watching this on catch-up. That'd be really good. Anyway, right.
We should give people the people on catch-up who watch on catch-up, we should almost go, it's like, let us know if you're on catch-up by planting a flag, by saying, I'm here. And then we'll...
That's a good one. That is a good one. Yeah. So
let us know. Give more thought to that. As Catkin says, someone needs to defrost Simon. We should have him defrosted by just before 8:30.
He's he went flying today. If you watched his webinar last night, he was talking about he was going flying today. So he went flying today. And I mean, I didn't have time to go flying today, but the weather was lovely. But I have to say, I would have needed my gloves and my woolly undies on just to.
It was a cold one today, wasn't it? Good to see Simon flying.
You know, Ed, the other day I went flying from Wadswick, and it was like one of those really cold days, and I pulled up to put the airplane away.
Yeah.
And I couldn't put it up the slope because it was too slippery. I was thinking I am going to end up on my backside here, and I had to get the winch out and hope the battery out there. Anyway,
too cold. And then it's aeroplanes. You grab hold of the propeller, and then you're stuck to it because it's like metal and it's like -10.
Yeah. I could. I mean, I wasn't tempted, but I can see why some people with smaller airplanes might be tempted to taxi it a little bit further into the hangar. I mean, that always makes me really nervous. But
hangar roulette with your aeroplane. What have you got? You got like 2 inches either side. That would be brave.
Yeah, which I didn't do it, and I wouldn't do it.
No, anyway, shall we crack on with some news?
Just before you do that, Simon may not be live with the weather, but he is here.
I take it all back, Simon. Didn't mean it.
There he is. Yeah, so he's defrosting slowly somewhere. So
it was bloody cold today, wasn't it?
It must be top half because he can type. So.
Cool, right, Ed.
Excellent. So
take us away.
First news of 2025, and this is something you need to know and be doing if you're not already. Don't forget, active CO detectors are now mandatory in some cases, and that's a reminder that if you need one and you're flying a piston-powered GA aeroplane in the UK with a non-PPL holding passenger, then you need an active carbon monoxide detector. So that's not those stupid the little card thing on the left there that is about the most useless thing in the history of useless things. You need one that senses CO actively. This is obviously because the CAA created this safety directive back in August 2024, where they've been tracking a number of accidents linked to CO, and they decided that actually everyone should carry one if you've got non-PPL passengers.
So if you've got a PPL passenger, we don't care about them.
I think we care about all passengers.
We care about all passengers. I think they're suggesting that the PPL passenger should know better, for God's sake.
Yes. I think it's that PPL passenger knows the risks, doesn't it? I think they're saying that a non-PPL passenger, you might not in the passenger brief, you might not go. Oh, and above all, and after all the other things I've told you about this, it may gas you. So
yeah, be particularly careful if you're flying footballers.
Yes. Anyway, the good news about the CO regs is you don't necessarily have to have a certified CO detector. You can have a commercial off-the-shelf carbon monoxide detector, and lots of people use those. You've probably seen them. Yeah, there's a real common one called the Fire Angel. We've tested it in the past. Works perfectly fine. Gives you an active warning of CO in the cabin. I'm a big fan of active CO detectors. I've flown aeroplanes where I've learned that aeroplanes are gassing me. So, and also it's nice to fly an aeroplane sometimes and put the detector in and then go, oh my God, it's a completely clean cabin. So, and it is noticeable that the times I've flown something that is mildly gassing you, you realise that the days that you've flown that for like 2 or 3 hours at a time, and you go home and you fall asleep on the sofa, might be because it's been having an effect on you. So,
how does that compare to being gassed by glue when we filmed the Christmas special?
Completely. Yeah, that's a good reminder.
That was pretty aromatic.
Yeah, that was pretty aromatic, but that just makes you high, doesn't it? So, the safety directive doesn't include single-seat aeroplanes with an open cockpit or cabin, aircraft performing aerobatic manoeuvres, weirdly, aircraft with piston engines located behind the cabin, unless the cabin heat also is provided by an exhaust heat exchanger, and weirdly, aircraft with only wing-mounted piston engines. But so there's some. I spoke to someone who flies an open cockpit biplane, and they went, "Well, actually, my aeroplane's still capable of gassing me." So.
Interestingly, and that's always dangerous when you start a sentence with "interestingly," isn't it? I got an email over Christmas from Thomas, our German colleague, saying I was about to do a German accent then, and that would be inappropriate, I'm sure. But basically saying, I've been looking at this CA thing, and the way it's written, it kind of seems to apply to every aircraft flying in UK airspace. Does that mean I need to tell all the Germans that they need to go and buy a commercial off the shelf? I went, frankly, it's a good idea to have one anyway.
Visiting foreign aeroplane, I guess, is a positive. They're most likely to get ramp checked, aren't they? So the CA man in his yellow jacket could be out there going, where is your CO detector?
I'm not sure. I think they want a bit of a sticky wicket if they're trying to apply that to visiting foreign airplanes, personally. But there you go. And actually, talking of ramp checking, moving on to the next story, let me just quickly flash up a CA logo, just in case you wanted to know what that looked like. There you go. That's the end of that. Prospect Union, who's basically the union for most of the CA employees, told us before Christmas that the CA employees had taken a vote on industrial action, and they voted for industrial action. So from January the 20th, employees at the Civil Aviation Authority will not do any overtime and will work to rule. So, as has been pointed out by many people, that means that you should get your license applications turned around quicker. You should get your answers. But in a serious note, then there's a bit of a PR battle going on at the moment, more in the kind of commercial side of things, really. So the trade industry, travel news has come out and said the CAA have said, actually, we'll be absolutely fine, don't worry. Passengers don't need to fret, etc., etc., etc. And it all stems from the fact they've been offered a 3 to 4% pay increase, and they're not very happy about it, as you can probably imagine. So we'll see what happens. I suspect it will get called off and they'll get back around the table and have another chat, have a few meetings about it, and we'll see what happens.
I guess we don't know how long that's going to be.
Well, it's due to start on the 20th of January. My guess is it won't even start and they'll sort it out beforehand, but who knows? I could be wrong.
Yep.
I could be wrong. That said, I have pinged a couple of questions to the CA press office and have had no replies whatsoever. So maybe they
don't have time for that now.
They don't have time for that anymore. No.
Dave.
Who knows? Right, Dave, you better dispel the myths of my almost mistake.
Right. Well, you may have heard of the General Aviation Awareness Council, which goes by the acronym GAAC. It's going through some changes under the new chairman, Matt Wilkins, with the emphasis is going to be on protecting airfields. That's always been part of its work, but now the emphasis is there. Matt is the manager of Old Buckingham Airfield, as well as being involved in a whole bunch of other light aviation activities. So the first thing that's happened is that Simon Tilling, you probably know is the CEO of the LAA, the Light Aircraft Association, he's become vice chairman of the GAAC board, and he and Matt are going to work together, going to regular meetings with the government and CAA, looking after the interests of airfields. In addition, they've created a new role called Head of Planning to offer aerodromes planning advice should they face development issues. This has partly come about because the CAA has been told to disband its airfield advisory team. But the person who's going to be Head of Planning is Anne Bartleby, who's pretty well known because she has had a career as a town planner. She's also run Red Hill Aerodrome, where she spent 5 years bringing forward a package of improvements and renovations, and is also one of the founders of the Strategic Aerodrome Network, which identifies the value of a UK-wide network of aerodromes. The GAAC chairman, Matt Wilkins, said, "I very much look forward to working with Simon in his new role as vice chair. The appointment of Anne as head of planning ensures that any aerodrome in need of the GAAC's renowned assistance can be assured that it comes from one of the most formidable and expert planning consultants in the UK." So, what Matt did tell me also, sort of not on, slightly off the record, but I'll say it anyway, is that
there's no truth about a bromance between him and Simon Tilling, is that it?
No, it's nothing to do with that. It's just that the all-party parliamentary group on general aviation, apart from having a bit of a mouthful of a title, it's started to be reactivated with a new chairman, and there's going to be some announcements fairly soon about what its priorities are going to be.
Yeah, I think that, yeah.
Well, I think because they get disbanded every time, all the ATGs get disbanded every time there's a change of government and then get restarted up again, don't they? So that's probably what's caused that. I mean, can you imagine? You're called the General Aviation Awareness Council. Everybody should surely have heard of those, otherwise they would have failed in their very first task.
Are you aware of us?
Are you aware of us? No? Oh, damn, I've got to change the name. Anyway, right, moving on. Ed, over to
Vision
you.
jets everywhere, 600 of them. And that's the remarkable news that Cirrus has delivered its 600th Vision Jet. That was at the end of 2025. That's pretty impressive considering that the FAA certified single engine jet, which was at one time kind of almost seemed like the also round behind other people like Diamond and Piper, was launched in 2016. So that is 600 of those. I talk about come out with a product that everyone, well, I say everyone wants. I'm not going quick. Take my money because I don't have enough.
Ed, if you persuaded everybody in these four squares here,
Yes.
to cash in their pensions and sell their houses,
we'd probably still be short.
we could probably afford a used Vision Jet.
A down payment, and we could all live in it like some weird 60s.
We could even run it for a couple of weeks.
But to paint it yellow, and we could all live in a yellow Vision Jet.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, very good. Talking of which, I mean, great celebration, but I don't know about you. I'm looking at that going, green.
Well, is that the Arrive version, isn't it? And I've never been. Cirrus do some great special editions, but the Arrive, which is available in jet and piston, has never been my favourite. So
my dad had a Mark II Cortina of that colour once, and that was a bit of a.
Oh, but I bet that was cool. I'm not sure it's such a cool colour on a Vision Jet.
My granddad had a Saab 900 Turbo in that colour too, and that was very cool.
That's very cool and about. Yeah.
Fair enough. Good. Right.
Tell us about Jetson racing.
Yeah, Jetson racing. Have you ever fancied having a go at air racing, Ed?
No.
Yes. Yes, that's a good answer. But I bet the cost put you off. The Jetson one could be the answer you've been looking for, Ed, because it only costs $128,000. It's not cheap, but it is a lot more affordable than some. This has an aluminium frame and a carbon Kevlar composite body. Flight time of an amazing 20 minutes, reaching a top speed of 60 miles an hour, and can carry a pilot weighing 15 stone or 95 kilos. Some people think this is pure madness, but 471 units have been reserved, and I think it looks like great fun.
It does look like great fun, and they've clearly looked at old Red Bull and gone, let's have some inflatable pylons. But Red Bull, the aeroplanes always used to demolish those pylons and carry on flying. I think if you fly a multi-rotor thing through one of those pylons, I think the pylon might win.
You just bounce off it and carry on, wouldn't you?
No, I think flying a blender around a racecourse and flying into a fabric thing is recipe for disaster.
To me, it looks like aerial hovercraft racing, but one aircraft at a time. And I can't see what could possibly go wrong.
It's like aerial hovercraft racing if the hovercraft fan was not surrounded by a guard or have a hover cushion. If you were sat over, if you imagine how safe hovercraft racing would be if it was a chair over a giant blender.
You see, I think it would be really safe because nobody would want to crash, would they?
Yes, which will mean that loads of people. And that's the other thing. It's like racing. Sometimes you trade paint, don't you? But when you've got multi-rotors at the edges, so maybe that's going to make really exciting racing.
I believe they're intended to fly one at a time, but to me that just sounds a bit dull.
That's dull.
20 at a time, all going for it.
That's more like it. And it says doubles as a hedge trimmer. So,
all right. Talking of crashes.
Yes.
Dave, your story.
Right, yes. So companies developing electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, known as EVTOLs, having a hard time on this side of the Atlantic, while their US counterparts appear to be awash with cash. Latest to suffer, as we saw a picture there, latest to suffer is Volocopter, which is actually one of the neater ones that thought it probably had a future. But it has filed for insolvency administration in a German court while it looks for additional investment. It has yet to certify its air taxi, which they call the Volo City, and it's yet to go into production. So I guess they're looking for quite a lot of money. Another German company, Lilium, announced a Christmas Eve deal to find a new investor to pay its debts. Now, it's far from clear whether they've found enough money to actually to certify the Lilium jet and put it into production. And, sorry for the run of bad news, but closer to home, Britain's Vertical Aerospace has announced a deal with a major shareholder for more cash in return for equity in the company. But that's just another $50 million, apparently. Just another $50 million.
That soon finishes in a certification program.
Well, no, it's if you look at some of the US guys, Joby, which has close ties to Toyota. Toyota have just put in another $500 million. Joby says it has $710 million in cash in the bank at the moment. Wow, yeah. And another one called Archer is in a similarly strong position. That got another $430 million in December from a band of investors, including Stellantis, which I think is the overall company, umbrella company for Peugeot.
It is.
Yep. Archer has raised a total of $2 billion capital to date. So they're kind of showing, it's all about the money, really.
I still think Joby are my front runner.
Yep. Yeah. I think the Archer, they've in the States, you see, they can develop contracts with the US military. The US military is very keen on EVTOLs.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of contracts and money to come from that route.
Yeah, I think EVTOLs could do pretty well in the. I think Ukraine's demonstrated that warfare will involve a lot of drones and stuff in the future.
Yeah.
But in terms of the urban air mobility market, I think that's pants and never going to happen.
No.
Yeah, that's my view on it.
Adrian Norris says Archer CEO has been visiting Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Says how supportive Trump is of EVTOLs. Do you maybe how about this for a suggestion? Trump goes Jetson air racing
in Greenland.
Yeah. In Greenland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, you got the next story as well, Dave. This one's a fairly
free money
story.
It's not free money. It's absolutely not free money. But we're talking about TUI Airways, which is part of the multinational TUI travel group. It's opened applications for its fully funded multi-crew pilot license. That's called the MPL. So it's for professional pilots. And in the scheme, we'll see new pilots join TUI's Boeing 737 fleet after around 18 months of training, and all in the UK. I should add. It's what was the thing about this is that while it's paid for up front by TUI, it does come off your salary once you've qualified and you're sitting in the right seat.
Okay.
It's not too bad actually. It's not too onerous. You get a salary of currently £37,751 after the money has been deducted. The loan segment's been deducted. So it's not like you're going to be on bread and water after you've qualified.
Right, and they feed you on the plane, don't they? So
yes, I mean I should add that the applications open this week. They will close on the 31st of January. It's going to be very hard fought for any candidate to get through. So anyone putting their application in has to be really at the top of their game and work at it, and take advantage of some of the schemes out there to help prepare yourself for the whole experience.
It's great that there's a growing number of airlines now doing fully sponsored, even though it is a kind of like salary sacrifice type thing, but some of them aren't. The BA system isn't, BA Academy isn't, and so this only a few years ago there were pretty much no airlines doing that, and now there's a growing number of airlines, which kind of reflects the market and how desperate they are to train their own pilots. So that's got to be a good thing. Right, bit of news from China. The amazingly named, where have I got that? RX-4E has been certified by the CAAC. This is a 4-seat aircraft with an electric engine, delivers 140 kilowatts of power, which is roughly speaking about 180 horsepower. It's the first electric aircraft certified under their CCAR-23. Which is a kind of like normal category GA kind of aircraft type thing. And they reckon it's got a maximum duration of 1.5 hours from its 70 kilowatt hour battery. I think that's a little bit ambitious personally, but there you go.
And this is a battery that you can come back and change, isn't it?
You can take the battery out of basically the other side of that aircraft where you can imagine the luggage door would be on a 182 kind of thing.
Yeah.
Excuse me, is where they put the battery, and you can not hot swap it, but you can swap another one in that's fully charged.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know, what can you say? It's good that it's certified. It's taken 5 years to certify. Will
we see it here?
A step on the way, but who? Yeah. I mean, just look at that. It's got that kind of anti-spin straight type thing underneath that ridiculous looking tail. No, exactly. Does it have to be so ugly?
Is that why it took so long? Because they were all just going, no.
It strikes me, it's one of those aeroplanes where I think they gave elements to different people and said, design this. And then they all met up in a room and went, wow, if only we'd known what we were designing.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
Does someone want to know how much it was? Because there's no price that I can find.
Yeah, there's how much is a spare battery pack? I don't know how much is a box of AA's from Duracell. Other batteries are.
I wouldn't be surprised if a spare battery pack is
really expensive.
It's 20-30 grand.
Yeah.
Does it come with a free paper bag to put over your head?
What, so that no one knows you're flying it?
No, basically they can only sell it to people who've ever bought nose wheel malls. So they've got over the nose wheel mall, they can fly that.
It's a start. It's a start. Annabelle, tell us about Poolies.
Poolies, the 61st Poolies Dawn to Dusk has just been launched. For anyone that doesn't know, the competition encourages imagination and creativity. So rather than setting a theme or a task, you pick your own challenge and your own goal, you go fly it. What's nice about Dawn to Dusk is you don't have to have hundreds of hours and loads of experience. It is about originality and airmanship. It's free to take part, and there are trophies and medals to win and a cash prize for first place. And apparently the judging panel has requested more attempts at bribery.
Ian, yeah.
Haven't they, Ian?
Yeah, the bribery levels are pretty poor this year.
I took part in this in 2003. I took part and I loved it. I'd only just had my, I don't think I'd only just got my license, and my friend and I spent, I think, several months planning. But yeah, it was great fun. So I'd recommend it. Really recommend it. Good fun. Good competition.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too.
Excellent. Good.
Cool.
Well, so that just leaves me. And so one bit of my news was going to be to tell you. So did you watch the Christmas special, our Great British Takeoff? If you did, we asked you to comment in the comments who your winner was. And my job earlier was to go and check the comments and know who the winner was, and I forgot to do that. So I'm going to do that while our guest video is on later. So I'll tell you that later. But I can get to the fact that I can tell you about our Fly 2024 winner and the launch of Fly 2025. So Flyers Fly 2024 challenge was to fly 2,000 nautical miles, fly 2 passengers new to general aviation, and visit 4 new airfields. Now we've been running a forum thread all year, and there's been some amazing posts by loads of pilots. And because of this, this year we decided, the Flyer team said, you know, we're going to pick 2 winners, both of whom provided a year's worth of forum updates. One of those pilots was retired, so had lots of time to fly. The other was a younger pilot who fits their flying in around working full time. So first winner is Derek Pake. Derek really smashed all of the challenges right out of the park. He flew 8,584 nautical miles over 95 flights, 36 separate individuals flying. 24 of those were first time. 18 of the passengers were teenagers, and visited 24 different airfields, with 10 being first visits in his RV8. Our second winner is Melanie Moxon, who, on the other hand, achieved her challenges in her shared Rollerson Condor, flying when weekends, weather and time off permitted. Melanie covered 3,866 nautical miles, took 2 new passengers to GA, and visited 7 new airfields. So big congratulations to both of our winners. Your prize, a VIP visit to Flyer HQ at Wadswick and lunch with the Flyer team. So you get it.
And we'll see if we can't find a few other bits and pieces for you as well.
Yes. And I know you're all asking, okay, so what a Fly 2025? Well, this year's new challenge, we've reduced the time challenge a bit. So we're saying this year, number 1, fly 20 hours. I know that's going to put it in contention for a few more people. Number 2, go flying in 2 new to you general aviation types. That's pilot or passenger, we don't mind how, and maybe the Flyer Forum will give you an opportunity to think about meeting up with other Flyer Forum members to swap rides. And number 3, fly to 5 new airfields. So that's 20 hours, 2 new types, 5 new airfields, Fly 2025. So the new forum thread is up and running. That went live just as we went live. And I'll put a link in the comments.
Wow.
And congratulations, Derek and Melanie. So
huge congratulations, Derek and Melanie. We'll be in touch for the Wadswick visit. Let's maybe make it when it's slightly warmer and nicer. I would say. Good.
Oh, look, they're both in the comments too. Derek Pake, well done, Melanie. My money was on you. And Melanie says, congrats, Derek.
Oh.
Fabulous. Well done both. And you both posted regularly, loads of really inspirational stuff. And that's what the forum's all about. Is we're an active community of flyers, aren't we? So let's support each other and encourage each other. So
get out and bloody fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not very active, but
yeah,
this year.
Come on, Annabelle, get out and fly.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to. And if I do you know what? I'm going to make use of some of the free landings that I get as a Flyer Club member. That's slick, isn't it?
What might they be then?
I'm glad you asked, Ian. This month's free landings are Swansea, Retford, Gamston, Perth, and Sherburn in Elmet. I counted on my fingers, and I reckon that's a whopping £67 that most people could save if they use all of the vouchers. And considering that club membership is £5 a month, you would have to be mad not to take advantage of that. Members also get access to all the webinars, of course. Last night, we had our very own master weatherman, Simon Keeling, who gave us some tips on how he plans for winter flying. And just before Christmas, Mark Greenfield told us almost everything he knows about making forced landings. Members can log in, go to your dashboard to see all your benefits. And as Ian said before, remember, if you enjoy the content, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
It helps us.
Or Ian will shout at you and me.
I'll just go away and cry, basically.
There'll be no
cool.
Right, so it's time for tonight's guest, and tonight's live stream guest is someone that I met over the Christmas period. It's Vicky Auld. She's Deputy Chief Pilot for British Antarctic Survey, and Vicky came along and during the Christmas period when a gap in her flying schedule provided some downtime. Vicky started a 27-year career with BAS as a wintering meteorologist at the Halley Research Station, before later transitioning to a pilot on the Twin Otter. Her varied flying duties now range from scenic flights to atmospheric measurements and wildlife surveys. Vicky was awarded a Polar Medal in 2007 and a Second Clasp Polar Medal in the 2024 New Year's Honours List for her contributions to improving our understanding of Antarctica and enduring its harsh conditions. So let's hear what Vicky had to say about life flying in Antarctica.
Oh, and thanks for taking the time to join us. Right now, I think I'm right in saying that you're on the Rothera Research Station on the Antarctic Peninsula?
Yep, that's correct. I'm today at Rothera, and this is where all our aircraft are usually based, where we can actually the only place actually that we can take them into the hangar for some maintenance. So, I'm on the main base today.
So I guess when people imagine Antarctica, they imagine just a complete white, a completely snowbound place. But I'm guessing you do have some hard runways and some more rustic surroundings.
We do. I mean, Rothera is the unusual place for us actually for the pilots, because it's one of two places that we land on wheels. So we operate on a wheels ski Twin Otter usually when we're going south, and we have a gravel runway here. And a hangar, as I mentioned, and then the only other place we land on wheels is on a blue ice runway about 400 nautical miles south of here. And all the other operations that we do with the Twin Otters are on skis in much more of a flat white place, whereas Rothera is quite mountainous and surrounded by sea as well. We're on an island.
Okay, yeah. So rolling everything right back to the beginning for you. How did you get into flying?
I wasn't perhaps one of the kind of more normal methods of entry. I was at age 7. It wasn't on my list of things to be. I was a very slow learner in that respect. So I started out as a meteorologist, working with the British Antarctic Survey, and then because we operate as single crew in Twin Otters, it means that quite often, because we always have 2 people on board, any trade or person in any role on the station can get to go with us and help us load and unload, etc. So I got to sit in the right-hand seat of a Twin Otter a few times, and that was enough after a couple of years of that for me to decide that I actually wanted to go and learn to fly. With a bit of encouragement from the pilots that were around at the time, and off I went to fly in my early 30s, I think it was. Flew with Flybe for a few years and then joined BAS as soon as I could.
having been in British Antarctic Survey, did that help in terms of getting in? Because I'm guessing it's one of those jobs that not everyone can get into.
No, we are looking for fairly specific skills when we're advertising for pilots, because it's only a small group. I think we usually have around 8 pilots at a time. We're operating 5 aircraft, one of which is a Dash 7, so that's multi-crew, and then 4 Twin Otters. So within that small group of pilots, we obviously need management pilots, we need flight safety officers, CRM trainers, and training and examining instructors as well. So we are often looking for very specific skills when we recruit. Minimum 2,500 hours is what we look for. Some turbine time, ideally, and ideally a mix of multi and single pilot time as well, just to give a kind of a varied background.
It must be a job that only a kind of certain pilot will want to do, because it must come with some very, very unique kind of operating circumstances.
It does, and strangely, one of the hardest challenges for recruiting and keeping people is the kind of work-life balance, because we operate down in the Antarctic. We leave home end of September. We don't get back till March usually, end of March sometimes, and so it can be a long stretch away from home, which obviously doesn't suit many people and their lifestyles back in the UK, and especially if you do that repeat season after season. So I think that's one of the hardest challenges for new pilots. And the other aspect that's very different for us than maybe perhaps an airline job is we are, flying is very much just part of the job. So as soon as you've landed, you're then responsible for digging out your fuel drum, refueling your aircraft, unloading your plane, sorting out the cargo, loading the next load, etc. Sleeping out in the field for a week at a time. We've got 3 pilots out at the moment. Well, we have a ship against the wharf, which means we can't operate out of Rothera during the ship call. So we've sent a few pilots and aircraft out for a few days. So they'll be sleeping in the plane or sleeping in a tent for a few days. So yeah, it's not your normal aviation job, I guess.
Wow. So that's the thing with the ship being in port. Just explain to me how that works.
Because we're on a kind of small strip peninsula of an island, where the wharf is, and when our ship, the British Antarctic Survey's Sir David Attenborough, comes in, it's quite a large ship, and it's obviously got a lot of cargo to offload, and the wharf is incredibly close to the end of the gravel strip runway, and so we stop air operations while the ship is actually moored alongside, for a couple of days at a time.
What aircraft have you? So I think you've got the Dash 8 and the Twin Otter. I think we got some photos here with that. That's the Dash 8, isn't it? That's the
Dash 7. So we've got one Dash 7.
Sorry, yeah. And Dash 7, yeah.
And that's it. Yeah, that's it landing at Rothera. And then we've got 4 Twin Otters as well. So the Dash 7 we use as an air bridge. And that's one of our Twin Otters out at an unknown site. So yeah, there's quite a good picture as it shows the fuel. So we've obviously had to dig up that fuel till it's back on the surface again, I suspect, and then obviously about to load some cargo from a science trip.
So you use you talked of the Dash 7 being an airbridge aeroplane. What are the different roles that the different aeroplanes do?
Yeah, so the airbridge is how we bring quite a large number of people onto Rothera Station, either from the Falkland Islands or from a southern city in Chile called Punta Arenas. It's about just under 5-hour flight into Rothera, which is approximately halfway down the Antarctic Peninsula. And Rothera is a main base where we support the aircraft operations, but we also do quite a lot of marine and atmospheric and upper atmospheric science as well. We're also in the middle of a construction season, well, a few seasons, so there's quite a large team of support and construction workers that we bring in using the airbridge aircraft on a usually twice weekly basis throughout the season. And then the Twin Otters are for moving the science teams and operational support required for that further south of Rothera and into the Antarctic proper, so to speak, where they'll set up. We've got got 2 drilling teams out at the moment, actually looking for ice cores and also drilling down to the rock bed to get samples of rock bed. And they might be out there for a couple of months at a time, and they'll need occasional support trips as well as input and uplift at the beginning and end of their seasons.
It seems like when you see photos of it and just kind of looking at some of the surroundings, I mean, it looks beautiful, but it must be, I'm imagining that the risk level is quite high. Obviously, we all manage risk, but there must be a lot that you have to take into account when operating.
Yeah, I think it's a slow process, kind of learning to be a BAS pilot. We typically take about 3 years until we are kind of approved to the highest ski level, where you're allowed to actually go to a new site and determine yourself. If it is a new site, then you'll take a field guide who's a mountaineer basically with you. So they get to look at the surface from above with you, determine if they think it's safe for actually walking around the site once you've landed. And then you determine if it's going to be safe to land. So we have special techniques that we learn, including kind of trailing skis and kind of doing low-level passes over the terrain so that you can understand the slopes and potentially the surface structure before you actually drop in and land. So you're obviously trying to protect the airframe at all costs. And some places that the scientists want to go to, you have to say no, but most of the time the surfaces are usually workable.
And is it all? I'm guessing the snow surface can be quite a variable thing. Sometimes it can be. It's like okay, but I'm guessing sometimes it can just be too soft that it's like not operable at all. So
yeah, it's actually. It's often more the case that it's too hard, that it would actually damage the nose wheel, with the one thing that's quite sensitive on the Twin Otter. So a Station 60 event is when we have potential damage to the nose wheel, and that's the kind of thing we're trying to avoid at all costs. So we know certain areas on the peninsula can be quite deep and soft snow, but the further down and further south you go into the continent, the harder the surfaces generally get. But that's the idea of training the skis first to see if that surface is going to be acceptable for a full landing and takeoff.
Okay, and how do you? I'm talking of fragility of nose wheel. How do you deal? And if you get a problem, how do you deal with repairs and I guess just normal? How do you deal with maintenance?
Yeah, well, at Rothera we have a full hangar, and we have 3, sometimes 4 Canadian engineers from Rocky Mountain Aircraft who do an amazing job keeping all our aircraft very well maintained. If we have issues in the field, then we've got sat phones and HF radio to contact Rothera base, and we can talk to the engineers. At some places where we land, where there are people on the ground looking after fuel depots or doing some science, they also have Starlink now, so we can send pictures and get assessments from the engineers that way. And when required, then the engineers come out with another aircraft and all their spares, and we'll be fixing things literally on the ground in -20. It can be pretty uncomfortable for them, but we've had some pretty major repairs done in some quite demanding conditions. Yeah.
That's just a circumstance of the operating conditions, is it? And what sort of problems have you dealt with in the past?
We've had, well, the most recent one a couple of years now, I guess, was a Station 60 where they had, I don't know, 3 engineers for a couple of weeks down at Sky Blue trying to fix nose wheel damage, and eventually they got to a point where we could get a permit to fly it back to Rothera for further repair. And then it was in the hangar with the whole of the nose cone, etc., taken off, and some fairly serious structural work repairs being done. So, it's kind of a staged repair, I guess, when it gets to that point. More often than not, it may have been something that there's maybe a wingtip had hit a flag or something, and you might need an inspection before you can fly again. There's a whole variety from pretty minor to quite extreme that we've repaired in the field.
Yeah, and you talk a little earlier on. You mentioned about buried fuel. What's going on with that? Oh, have you got various sites all around where you fly, and you actually bury supplies?
We don't deliberately bury, but we leave them on the surface at various depots ahead of future science programs. So when we know that there'll be a science program in a certain area and it might need a staggered approach to get people in, then we'll drop a fuel depot in the year before, or a couple of years before if we know in advance, so that the fuel is there for us to be able to run the scientists in smoothly. But over a year or two, depending on where you drop that fuel, there's various accumulation rates. So yeah, it's quite a routine part of the job, is digging up the fuel, and then we have a fuel pump that we can run from the aircraft to pump that fuel into our tanks.
Okay,
Yeah.
oh, that's pretty neat. And what's
Yes.
is that a standard Twin Otter thing, or are your aircraft adapted for that working environment?
Our aircraft are fairly well adapted. I think, we've obviously got de-icing boots, and I think quite a lot of Twin Otters do, and we have extra wing fuel tanks as well, just to give us a little bit of extra endurance. The wheel skis are obviously quite unusual. A lot of people, operators, Ken Borick is one of the largest operators in the Antarctic of Twin Otters. They run on board skis most of the time, but because we come back to Rothera and need to land on gravel, we opt for the wheel skis. And what other differences do we have? One of our aircraft has a particularly big door for getting skidoos in easily.
Okay, yeah. Do you carry? Do you get set up with specific survival equipment for your flights?
Yeah. Yep. So we have the kind of standard maritime survival that you'd have, because leaving Rothera, we're actually travelling over sea. So we have all the kind of normal crew and passenger life jackets and life raft survival equipment. But on top of that, we have polar equipment. So that we have standard emergency, which would include extra food, but we also have equipment that we quite regularly use. So we have 2 tents on board at all times, 2 mountain tents. We have 2 stoves for melting water. We have a medical box. So if we are the kind of travelling party to go and pick up someone, or if we've got an injury on board, then we have quite an advanced medical box that we travel with. Fuel, obviously we need fuel for the stoves. So yeah, it's quite comprehensive set of equipment. And routinely, we, as I said, we do go out and stay overnight, and it's not always at a depot that's manned. It's quite often just the aircraft and its passengers. So we are self-sufficient in that respect.
If you're flying onto, very few of us will have had the experience of flying onto a white on white surface. What do you kind of look? What do you use as your cues for kind of visual reference?
It's something you learn. I think it's fair to say. Like I say, if you're going to a place where no one's on the ground, you are really looking for a blue sky day, ideally. Otherwise, if there is a skiway, there'll be a camp on one side of the skiway, so you know kind of where to look to get some kind of visual
I think
perspective.
we've got a photo now. I'm guessing that's taken from the top of a hill. Is that that's kind of a typical place in the middle of, place in the middle of nowhere would be my description.
This is a place in the Pensacola Mountains where we inputted a team of 4 or 5 people for about a month last year, and we left them there for a month and then started coming to pick them up, which is this was the uplift, and I just got a chance to be able to quickly get up the hill and take a photo. So you can see the skiways obviously been tracked quite a lot by in aircraft coming in and out. You can't quite see the flags, I don't think, on that, but you can imagine on a day like today, it's quite a pleasant place to be. But if there's quite low cloud or blowing snow along the surface, reducing the viz, then you really need to be very aware of your surroundings. And
it looks like your surroundings, you're dealing with quite a lot of, those don't look like small hills and kind of out areas of rock. I'm guessing there's a bit of a terrain risk as well, is there?
Yeah, not at all of our sites, but this is one of our kind of what we would call a ski 3 level site where, you've only got fairly experienced pilots going into.
Right.
And sometimes it has been known that you've landed and the weather's come in and you stay on the ground until you can see the hills again for departure.
And what's your longest you've ever been weather stuck?
I've probably only ever, myself, I think I've only ever been one night but we have had occasions where it's been 4 or 5 days and people literally just can't get out of where they landed.
You must spend some time absorbing experiences from the more experienced pilots when you start, I guess.
Yeah, so this year we've got one brand new pilot who's out line training at the moment with pretty much most experienced pilot, line trainer. And then we've got a pilot that only started on Twin Otters last year that has taken a second aircraft out but is following them basically, so going to the sites after them and being able to talk to the other aircraft if they've got any questions about where they're going. So yeah, it's relatively slow development, I suppose, compared to some jobs, but I think that's it's probably the right thing to do for the areas that we're operating in.
Yeah. What's life like when you're not flying?
We've actually just had a Christmas on base, which was unusual. Quite often we're just flying out in the field over Christmas, but we had a no-fly day and almost all of us were on base. And it's quite a busy station. I mentioned there's construction work going on, so we're a little bit, we've got 160 in a place that's designed, I think, for a maximum of 120, so it's a little bit cramped. But the food is excellent. The beds are comfortable these days. It's not quite the hardships of the people that were down here 50 years ago. Whereas compared to people in the field, it's quite a different standard of living. Yeah, when you're on base.
And what's it when you spend a night out in the field? That must feel like obviously you've got the airplane with you, so you don't feel completely isolated. But it must be an incredible space. If you get to be out in the field kind of overnight, it must just be like otherworldly.
It is an amazing feeling. I love it, and I've always wondered what the scientists must feel like when we fly away and leave them there for a while. Hopefully hopeful that we're coming back, but yeah, it is. Yeah. On a beautiful evening, it's a very special feeling. When it's windy and blowing snow and quite uncomfortable, not quite so special. Yeah, I bet.
And obviously you're out there at the moment. It's summertime. Mm-hmm. There's a period, isn't there? You don't operate during winter. It's just, I'm guessing that's just too dark. It just raises the risk level too much.
Yeah, so the places that we're trying to get the scientists into just aren't viable in the dark. So there's no point for us being here in the winter. But we do use 2 of our aircraft, 2 of the Twin Otters and the Dash occasionally we use for airborne science. So we fit them out with radars and hyperspectral kit and atmospheric kit, and we basically work for any kind of UK university collaborative projects and take the aircraft wherever they want to take them and go and do airborne science, which I think a lot of the pilots really enjoy as well, that you actually get some direct science out of the aircraft.
Is there a lot of that collaborative stuff going on?
There's usually 2 or 3 quite big projects each summer. So we've been to quite a lot to the Arctic in recent years. So we've had projects up in northwest Canada, Iceland, Greenland and Svalbard and Sweden as well, actually. Starting to look at some of the kind of methane emissions, among other things, as well as atmospherics, which are trying to kind of improve model predictions, what's going on up there. But this summer we're actually going to Brazil with, I think, King's College London are the main collaborators, and putting some hyperspectral kits on there and measuring, again, methane and greenhouse gas emissions, from trying to measure the balance between agriculture versus jungle and natural emissions and particular site source emissions as well. So it's quite interesting stuff that we do. Yeah.
Vicky, what advice would you give to anyone who aspires to fly for British Antarctic Survey?
I think the first thing would be to get in touch with one of the pilots and have a sit down, have a proper chat with them, because if you want to enjoy the job, you need to be confident that the lifestyle is going to work for you. But otherwise, maybe try and set up your hours and experience getting, I think I've already mentioned, trying to get some turboprop time, and trying to get that mix of solo multi-crew time. And find out as much as you can about the job, so you know what to expect. I think, we do get people that will only stay for 1 or 2 years, and that's inevitable, I guess. But sometimes it's a life choice that they want to spend more time at home. Sometimes it's just actually not for them. The work that we do is quite physically challenging as well. But yeah, I would say try and find out as much as you can about the job before you apply for it.
Fantastic. Well, Vicky, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. It's been really eye-opening. We wish you the best of luck with further years flying out there. And just thank you again.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Very good.
Wow.
Very good.
Cool.
Amazing. I so want to get to. I just, if I had my time again, then as much as I love fly out and the live stream and everything else, I would have 30 years ago. I would have been.
Yeah, well, it's like Vicky said. She got into it in a completely non-flying way, but flying with other people there, she's like, this is what I want to do. So, and she's clearly been there a long time, loves it to bits. So, it was just a great real opportunity to talk to her about what it's like to fly out there. So
I don't know if you remember, we used to. Oh, I'm sure you do remember. We used to have Eleanor used to work for us. Eleanor Evans many years ago. Her dad was I think a scientist in Antarctica for many years. And like many people who've been there, who I spoke to, it kind of changes your life, it changes your outlook on life, and just like a wacky place. Yes. Anyway, thank you very much for that. That was bloody amazing.
That's right. It's time for
time for fancy hand. But just a quick reminder before we get into that, because we are running a bit late, that we've got the weather to come. So we get rid of fancy hanger, and then we got the weather for you for this weekend. So
yes, Simon will want to know what he's forecasted.
Yeah.
So this week, because Cirrus have cracked 600 sales of their fabulous SF-50 Vision light jet, that got us thinking, in the world of small personal jets, what would we choose for our fancy hangers? So who's first?
That's me first this week.
Ian, what have you found?
Stunning airplane. This is a PA-49 Catty. It does not PA-49. It's not from Piper.
Whoa!
I mean, if you can go to the Bourget and see it there. What a stunning little aircraft! This was built by a guy whose name is Nicholas Roland Payen, born in 1914. He started to build this in 1951. He basically got together with 3 aircraft builders, and they knocked it out in a month, which is pretty good going, isn't it? I mean, you can't even build a glass air in that time, can you?
That's got to be a winning choice.
It took a couple of years before they actually flew it, because they wanted to put it in a big wind tunnel. This guy's a bit. I was reading about this guy, and he put in his first kind of application for an aeronautical security sign when he was 17. And throughout his life, he kind of struggled massively financially, because nobody actually took up any of his designs and put them into production. And the kind of story said, and unfortunately, he only built 7 prototypes throughout his whole life. Like, bloody hell, 7 prototypes, that's quite a lot. Of the 260 designs that he had on his books. You just think, that's a guy who makes Mike Patey look like a slouch.
I'd like to see what his back catalogue looked like if that was one of them. So.
I've made a mental note to go and check out some of his stuff. But anyway, you can go and see it in Le Bourget, in the museum in Le Bourget, if you want. He claims it's definitely 500 kilometers an hour, but
yeah. Martin Hand says, not sure about the nose wheel. Martin, I'm not sure that it would spend a lot of time. It looks like it's the sort of aeroplane where, unless you climb into it, it might fall over.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, it's fixed gear.
Yeah.
Not really. Well, obviously.
I don't think anyone's got a problem with it being fixed gear, because otherwise their chin's on the floor. Just, you imagine turning up at a fly in that thing.
It would be. I reckon it's pretty funky. I mean, I don't know enough about Delta Wings to comment on this, but there were people talking about him being the father of the Delta Wing.
Yeah.
Perhaps
that's very much your own personal light jet, isn't it? When you turn up with your own tiny Delta. Very good.
Yes.
So I think it's Annabelle next.
Yeah, it's me. Hands up if you want to be like James Bond. Of course you do. My choice this evening is the BD5J, or one picture, Ed. The other one. Hang on.
The other one?
Yeah. This one. That one. That one.
Oh,
Made famous by the opening sequence, as you can see here, of Octopussy, where, while evading enemy troops, Bond emerges from a horse box in an Acrostar, takes off over the heads of his pursuers. He evades a missile, flies through the hangar, lands on a road, taxiing up to a fuel station, saying, "Fill her up, please."
Yeah.
The Acrostar was developed as a variant of the propeller-driven BD-5, designed by Jim Bead in the late 1960s as a home build, and actually earned a record as the world's lightest jet aircraft, has a range allegedly of about 250 miles and a cruise speed of 240 knots. So it's not very practical, but it is undeniably cool, because why else would James Bond fly one?
Famously, James Bond flew that through the hangar attached to a Jaguar on a stick, because that was the only way they could do that stunt.
It's still cool. And then landing and then taxiing up to the petrol station.
It was an actual flight through a hangar, though, it wasn't?
It was. It didn't actually fly through a hangar, no.
What? Are you
Special
sure?
effects.
Yeah, special effects.
Wasn't there some story about the guy who we were going to fly the Lepresti aircraft with?
So
Corky
the jet in Octopussy. So the BD-5J in Octopussy was flown by a guy called Corky Fornoff, and Corky was a professional test pilot and stunt pilot and all sorts. And yeah, we heard his name when you did the flight test of the Swift Fury, because he'd done the flight testing on that for the Lepresti team, hadn't he? But so Corky was one half of the Acrostar's jet team. They had two BD-5s and did the stunt flying in Octopussy. But yeah, if you search online, you can find a BD-5 on a black stick on a Jaguar with a man hunkered down driving it through the hangar.
Wow, there you go.
So,
Who knew?
Yes.
Better than I did.
Yeah.
Anyway, dismiss all of those of you. Dismiss the BD-5.
Yes.
And vote for the PA-49 KT.
But wait, Dave has a choice.
Yep, I've got a choice. I've already got a Berku in my fantasy hangar, but a piston-powered one. So this is what goes one better. It's a jet-powered Berku. Here it is. And it's basically instead of having the 180 horsepower or 260 horsepower Lycoming piston engine, it's got a GE, General Electric, T58 turbine converted into a turbojet. It flew in 2006, and it's fast. The standard piston power one can get up to 215 knots, but the jet power one can exceed 270 knots. It's a slippery aircraft, the Berku, so the builder, a chap called Gerald Doritzmar, installed special air brakes, and they were quite something looking at the way they've done. Unfortunately, it was severely damaged in a false landing following an engine failure in 2010 and hasn't been rebuilt since.
That's bonkers. Your hangar is full of, it's like Luscombe with a turbine, Berkut with a jet. It's amazing no one put jet engines on a Luscombe. You would have been totally at home.
I think we've already got the winner with me. I'm not sure it's even worth showing yours, is it, Ed?
Really? I'm tempted to vote for yours, but I went for this. So This is the Williams V-Jet 2. Now, this is my kind of personal jet, designed and built by Burt Rutan Scale Composites for Williams International. It was a test bed for Williams's new FJX turbofan engine. They'd made the FJX, the little 550-pound thrust FJX from their highly successful FJ44, because NASA put a challenge out saying, we need a tiny fuel-efficient turbofan. This was unveiled in 1997. I remember it as a kid and thinking that is utterly cool. Forward swept wing provided docile stall characteristics, and the closely spaced engines meant you didn't need to pay much attention if you had an engine failure, apart from go, why are we going slower, maybe? Williams didn't intend to put the aircraft into production, but Eclipse liked the idea, and they bought the concept, and the airframe was... it says, if you set around, it says the airframe was significantly redesigned. We're talking massively. All metal structure, added a T-tail, and that would eventually become the Eclipse 500. 400, yes. Prototype flew with a pair of EJ22 engines, which was the variant of the FJX2. Williams and Eclipse eventually parted ways because they couldn't. Eclipse said, your engine doesn't make enough power, and Eclipse said, Williams said, your aeroplane's got too heavy. So they fell out. Eclipse did donate the aeroplane, though, to the EAA, and you can see it. If you go to Oshkosh, it's always rolled out. Williams have a stand every year, and it's always on display there. So, and it's a brilliant, it's just like lots of things from Scale Composites. It's just fab. It's like, looks like it should have flown out of the Thunderbirds. So
I'm thinking you might be right. I think you might, because there was obviously the Eclipse 500 was the kind of the normal thing, but Eclipse did turn up somewhere with a V-tail one to try and take the thunder away from the Cirrus announcement.
Oh no, I think didn't that the tiny Eclipse was something else again, wasn't it? So yeah. Anyway,
Adrian in the comments will probably remember, I'm sure.
That's it. Yeah. So looking,
it turned up at Oshkosh just out of the blue.
Flew. Yeah, the little tiny thing, single engine on top, wasn't it? Yeah. A couple of people, Mike Roberts said, anyone pick the Summers Kendall SK1? You need to go Google that. That's like a British glider with a little jet on it, but very cute. Julian Treadwell said the same. Paul Fraser Benison, I want the same jet as Flash Gordon had, the M760 Paris jet. BD5 is super cool. Miles Sparrowjet has featured here before, is fantastic. Adrian Norris, looking good for Annabelle so far. BD5 for me, Ed wins. Hate to say it, Ed wins. Michael Roberts voting for himself and Julian, Ed wins. Annabelle wins. For comfort, Ed wins, but Annabelle must get the hangar space. Annabelle wins. Ian wins. There was a single-engined Eclipse. I'm told that it was a dog to fly. I have a picture of it somewhere. Good choices. But there is. I'm going to post. Nick Orchard said Jet Creekery as well. I've posted a link to a brilliant site called minijets.org. You won't believe how many tiny jets have been made in the history of time. There are some fantastic things. So Annabelle clearly clicking on an Annabelle wins there.
Yeah, I'm getting 8 minutes over.
Yeah, I've lost track. I think it might be a clearly all wins maybe situation.
It's an Ed wins, really, isn't it? Let's be honest. With an honourable mention for Annabelle.
Adrian says none of you win. Cirrus Jet would have won. Well, having sold 600, I think they came up with a winner, didn't they?
You're probably right. Dave, do you want to give us a quick thing on the events, and then we'll go to the weather?
Okay. Well, there's only one event coming up, and that's the aptly named Brass Monkey Flying at North Coates. I've just had a quick look at the weather. It's going to be sunny. It's going to be very cold. But just so you know, they've got a defibrillator in the clubhouse.
That'll keep you all right. Simon, here's Simon's weather, so you can check out how cold it's going to be this weekend.
Wait, before you play that Great British Takeoff, I went and looked at the video. Our Christmas special. Apparently, it was a three-way tie: Dave, Johnny, and me. No one voted for Ian.
Right, I'm going to play the weather. I don't want to know any more about that.
Wow, what a cold day. I'm out here at Wolverhampton Hackney Green Airport. I've been flying today. The frost is on the ground. Temperatures have struggled to get above freezing all day long, and it's going to be the same this evening as well, I think, for night flying. As far as tomorrow is concerned, we've got front moving into the southwest tomorrow, and that's going to be bringing some cloud and also some sleet, some outbreaks of rain with it through Southern Ireland into southwestern parts of England. Other areas are probably going to be dry though. I think towards the north and the east should be bright. Some morning mist and fog patches, but they will be clearing away quite quickly. And actually overall probably not too bad a day, and certainly one to be taken advantage of if you can. That's because by the time we get in towards the weekend, Saturday is looking like a ridge of high pressure building into us, but there will be quite a bit of cloud associated with that, some mist and some fog as well. That's going to be slow to clear. Once it has cleared away, base is probably around 2,000-3,000 feet, tops up at about 6,000-7,000 feet, but I think quite a misty, murky day right the way throughout. And then for Sunday, you'll notice here going more into a southwesterly, still got high pressure down towards the south, but that warm front towards the north of Scotland gives the game away of a more moist air mass coming in from the southwest. Now that means that we can have lots of cloud around, some low stratus and some mist and some drizzle affecting western coasts and hills, and periods of more persistent rainfall western Scotland. More central and eastern areas still cloudy, bases 2,000 to 3,000 feet, maybe lower first thing in the morning. They will tend to lift, and I think for most central and eastern areas it's probably flyable, but I suspect there may be problems with visibility through the day, perhaps 5 to 10 kilometres. Could be some fog around across more southeastern areas, which will be slow to clear. So it's not the best of flying forecasts. Tomorrow certainly looks like the best day for most of us. Now, I've got an Aviation Weather School Part 1, which started on Tuesday, so we've got the second session of that next Tuesday. You can still join if you want to. There's a recording of the first session available for you to watch if you'd like to do that. Don't forget my Pilot's Guide to Skew-T's course, which is online as well. And also for those of you who have already done Part 1, I've got Aviation Weather School Part 2 coming up on the Tuesday evenings of the 4th and the 11th of February. So lots going on. Have a great weekend of flying. Enjoy it if you can. And from here at Wolverhampton Hackney Green Airport and from Jupiter, it's bye for now.
Hello, and thanks for taking the time to.
Very good. Nearly got Vicky again.
There you go. We're done. Okay. Have we got anything else, or have we got to the end?
I think that's all. So
that's all, folks.
Everybody, thanks for coming back.
Apologies for running over. Happy New Year again. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. If you remember, if not, why not join? We look forward to seeing you somewhere at an airfield over the weekend, perhaps. Otherwise, this time next week on Thursday. Have a great one. Like, comment, subscribe, give us a hand. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, team. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Bye.
Here we go.